Hi, I'm Panda Hershey with Your Full Expression. Welcome to the first coffee and charts call where we discuss the energy of the retrogrades to help you feel into the flow of your life. On this call, I introduce the retrograde pages I've designed to help you do that. They provide the timing of the portal, a little brief description of the energy, as well as some questions that are designed to help you feel into it. And on this call, you'll hear a little bit about the Venus Retrograde portal that we're currently in. And hopefully with that, you are being acknowledged or affirmed for the wisdom and experience that you have and bring to the world. And I then connect it to the upcoming Mercury Retrograde portal that will start at the end of this month and will have you thinking about your potential. So thank you for watching. I'll see you on the other side. The retrogrades are an opportunity to relive something, to relive a topic, to have a second chance and a third chance to get something right for you, get something better for you. And it's something we don't realize when we enter this earth, that we get these chances. And my hope is for you to experience that and feel it and work with it. And by being able to anticipate it, just go with that flow. And on these calls, I hope to integrate all of that because they don't happen in a vacuum. They're all interconnected. And in these calls, I hope to connect that story for you so you can apply it in your own life. Okay? You can kind of see the personal planets are much longer than the outer planets. So they cover a little bit more of your chart. And the smallest one is Pluto here. Look at that. It just covers 2.5 degrees the whole time. And not only that, it's for 13 months. So you can tell like this energy right here is like an underlying feel for the whole year. So if you look at your chart and you look at the Nightstand Journal, those endeavor questions were always about pulling together, what are you giving all of your effort to this whole year? What is it that underlies everything you're trying to make happen? And so we'll get to some of that because I included the Pluto retrograde page. Below that, I have just a little blurb that I hope explains the experience of what the retrograde is like. It's kind of I love telling stories, or I find that people can relate to stories a little more easily. So hopefully this is something that resonates for you about how you learn through the retrograde process. And then on the right side of the page, what you'll see are 2 tables. The first is for the personal planets, mapping out the specific time frames for each of the retrogrades from when the portal opens to when it stations retrograde and spends basically 5 days in one spot. And then when it stations direct, another 5 days in one spot. And then when it completes, when it basically moves direct through wherever it's stationed retrograde. And they are in order from the beginning of the calendar year to the end of the calendar year. And so the same for the outer planets below. I pretty much ordered them in the order in which they station retrograde. So that's sort of the logic behind all of that. And I use the same guidelines and kind of points within the retrograde for you to take note of. So if we take a look right here, we see that we're actually in one right now. Venus stationed retrograde just a couple days ago on Sunday. And Larissa, you'll want to know that this is all Pacific time, and there may be some shifts by a day for East Coast time, but this is for people in California, and we could talk about shifting things or for you specifically if you wanted to do that. So it's East Coast time. But we are in the midst of this. And so if you look at your own chart, what you'll see is Venus going from 11 degrees Capricorn. And you can see there's a ton going on in this part of our life this year, wherever it is in your chart, from 11 degrees Capricorn up to 26.5 degrees Capricorn, right there. Now, what's interesting is we roll into a Mercury retrograde at 24 degrees, 24 and a half, up to 10 degrees Aquarius. And so there is this overlap between these two. Like it's the Mercury retrograde that we're about to enter is actually contained within the Venus retrograde. And that connection is not, it is important to pay attention to, because what it will do is extend whatever you're like getting some acknowledgement or affirmation about what you can do. It's going to ask you to think, okay, where are you going to take this? You're going to move into that Aquarius area of, I'm going to have to do something beyond what I know I can do and how to integrate everything I know, but take some risks and try something different. And that will be kind of the energy of where do I want to head this year? And in the midst of that, look, is this Pluto energy connecting the two? And so this is also a time to pay attention to how am I directing my energy and my effort this year? So any questions on this yet? Does that all make sense? Great. Now, I wanted to point out that notice that all of that energy was all in the same place in your chart. And if you turned to your Nightstand Journal and looked in the December pages, here's mine, you would see that Mercury and Venus are all in like 9 and 10. And for Pluto, there it is in 10 the whole time. And as some people have sometimes asked, why is Pluto never changing? Well, you can see that if it spends 13 months in that little sliver, the chances of it changing, pretty slim. So, okay, so let's move on to the Venus retrograde portal. And this is an example of how these personal planet retrogrades are laid out for you. There will be a double page, there is a double page spread for each of the retrogrades. And on it, you'll see your chart again, and that particular retrograde laid out just as it was on the other page. And here I've added the dates that give you some sense of right there, when is it traveling through these places? And so, you know, it opens at November 17th, moves forward or direct to December 19th, then appears to move backward, moving retrograde until January 29th, and then forward again or direct until March 1st. So below that, you guys are pretty familiar with this. You can write down which houses this is going through. These are the pie slice numbers down here, and you can see it's mostly in the 9th house. What am I teaching? What am I learning? How am I pulling everything together to share something? And as you can tell, you guys are part of this journey of my figuring this out. So that's right here, and you can write that for yourself. And so then we move over to the journal questions. And, you know, and I also provide just a little blurb that helps to pull the whole portal together and relate it to either what's going on at the same time or potentially a past retrograde. But these journal questions are the places for you to contemplate generally during these time frames, but because of your own chart, it may be before or after. And these are times to turn to the house pages that you have and just jot some notes for yourself. And the idea is to notice over time, over this whole portal, what did I actually learn about myself, right? It's not about the specific, in some ways, it is about the very specific events that happen, but together there is a story. And whatever you pull out of that is going to be helpful in just seeing the whole flow of your life. So right now, even though we're past the station retrograde time frame, still a good time to go in and write. And I'm going to add one other question here. On December 24th and 25th, Venus travels exactly over where Pluto is. And so bringing together that energy of what am I, and because it's retrograde, like recognizing about what I can do, that Pluto is also saying, you can go do this. You've got this. And so how are those two things coming together? And it's a good time to think about, wow, that junction of I've done all this hard work already. What more can I do? Where am I getting that affirmation? Any questions so far? Nope. Okay, great. So before we meet again in 2 weeks, or before the call happens again in 2 weeks, there is one other thing that happens that's important to like having your notes to journal. And that is that opening of the Mercury Retrograde Portal on December 29th. So a good time to journal. And this is that connecting the two portals of, okay, the Venus is retrograding back and the Mercury is going to start going forward to make you start thinking, all right, how am I going to do this next year? And so Venus and Mercury pass each other on that day, which is kind of cool. So it's a good time to pay attention to if someone says to you, you've done a really great job on this. And, oh, well, what if you go try, doing this through the next year, or work on this particular thing, or take a risk, or, here are a couple different routes you could take. This is a couple days where that may come into play for you. And I would encourage you during the direct phase, it's a good time to say yes to a lot of things, but give yourself the wiggle room to be able to say, I'm going to say yes to all of that, but I reserve the right to come back and refine what I agree to, and give yourself the space to choose the right path and to refine almost what you want to do, because that's what these retrogrades are for. And so as long as we don't box ourselves into a corner for the people around us, then they're going to be more comfortable with our taking that time, basically until the end of February, to say, okay, yeah, give me 2 months to work on this. And by then I'll have it nailed. Okay. All right. Well, I think I have hit everything that I wanted to cover, and I'm going to stop sharing my screen. And I hope that you are feeling affirmed in your own life, and that the people around you can see how you are applying your wisdom. These retrogrades affect all of us, but you've got your own experience of it. And my goal on these calls is to weave together all of these energies that you're feeling into a story that helps you move through life more easily. So if you'd like to learn more or join us on these calls and get your own retrograde pages, just visit my website at yourfullexpression.com. I hope to see you soon. Thanks for watching.